After many days of speculation, the Republican Party has just won a trifecta. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and I hope everyone is having a great day. I'm having a great day myself, and before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and of course, join the channel today. Again, these are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff, let's get into it because we have breaking news. The Republican Party has officially won control of the House, meaning they have a trifecta. Yep, it's official. The Republican Party has won the presidency, the Senate, and the House. Yeah, it's official. It's a done deal. Now, there are some outstanding races we'll get to in a second, but no matter what happens, the Republican Party has a trifecta. They have the Senate, they have the House, and of course, they won the presidency. Now, we knew last Tuesday that Republicans won the Senate and the presidency, but it took a week to figure out who was actually going to retain control of Congress, or was it going to flip Democrat. The fact it took this long is pathetic, but honestly, we kind of knew last Thursday that it was over. It was going to be a small majority, but at the bare minimum, it looked like Republicans were going to retain control of Congress, therefore giving Trump a trifecta going into his second term. Now, listen, the fact that Republicans only won 219 seats as of now is absolutely pathetic. I mean, look at the presidency. Trump clearly won the popular vote, won by roughly 3.5 million votes. Hell, he got a majority of the vote. And you look at the swing map, it was a red wave. The fact that the Republicans barely kept control of the House is absolutely pathetic. It should tell you everything about this election. People voted for Trump. They didn't vote for the Republican Party. The fact that some people don't understand that is crazy. I mean, come on, guys. Trump won the popular vote by 2. And you're gonna barely win control of the House? I mean, this is ridiculous, but that's the Republican Party. They did such a piss-poor job down ballot that they're giving Trump a small House majority and even the Senate majority, which is a couple seats. You know, it's going to be 53 when they eventually call McCormick's seat, but 53 seats in this environment is pathetic. It should have been 54, 55, 56, but it's going to be 53, which, you know, it's better than nothing, but 53 seats may not be enough when you factor in clowns like John Curtis, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins. It's like, right there, that's 3 moderate Republicans that are going to screw you over every time, or at least a good chunk of the time. And at that point, you have no leeway. You cannot lose a single vote for anything. Now do you see the problem? This should have been 54, 55, 56 seats, but it wasn't. It's 53, which is, you know, better than nothing, but it should have been way more. But at least you could say, well, we don't have to worry about John Curtis or Lisa Murkowski screwing us over every single vote. But what about the House? There is no excuse whatsoever for this. The Republican Party should have seen a net gain of like 10 seats, at a bare minimum. And I know there's some redistricting bullshit we have to talk about, but the fact is, Trump won the popular vote, and he ran it up everywhere. It wasn't just a single part of the country he did better in. No. He did better everywhere. Urban areas, suburbs, rural areas, Hispanic voters, black voters, white voters. Every voter shifted Republican. Every type of voter shifted towards Donald Trump, I should say. But they didn't vote for Republicans down ballot. Some of them just did not vote. They just voted for Trump and left. And there's a bunch of good examples across the board, whether it's the Rio Grande Valley where Trump absolutely ran it up in. I mean, for crying out loud, 21 points better than Starr County, 20 points better than Hidalgo, Cameron, 19 points, Zapata, 17 points. He ran it up everywhere. And even places like San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, they shifted significantly towards Trump. Yet, you look at places like Texas 34, and Vicente Gonzalez won by 4. Henry Cuellar, who I know is a strong incumbent, he won by 5 points. This area shifted like 20 points Republican, yet these Democrats, and I know they're incumbents, but they still won by a decent margin. But the best example is in Iowa. Look at this. Iowa first. This is Miller Meeks, the supposedly electable Republican, which, by the way, so much for that argument. Trump outran Republicans everywhere. But this is the best example. Miller Meeks is an awful Republican, and she's not even a Republican. She's garbage. She's a moderate at best. It's awful. But she won by 800 votes despite being the incumbent. Yet you look at Iowa, and the biggest shifts in the state came in the eastern half, especially southeastern Iowa. Trump won this district back in 2020 by like a point. He probably won it in 2024 by like 8 to 9 points. Yet Miller Meeks, despite being the incumbent and the supposedly electable Republican, barely won. This was absolutely pathetic. I mean, the fact that she barely won, it's just crazy to me because Trump did so good in Iowa. He won the state by what? Like 14 points? Yeah, he won Iowa by 13 points. And the biggest shifts came in the eastern half of the state. Yet she barely won in her race. This is a perfect example as to what happened. Republicans down ballot did not convince Trump voters to vote Republican. They voted for Trump, and, for some races, they probably did vote for the Republican, like in Wisconsin, like in Pennsylvania, but in places like Iowa, these voters are Trump or bust. They don't like the Republican Party. They like Trump. They agree with him, but they're saying, nah, we are not voting for Miller Meeks. She screwed us over every single time. She's awful on the issues, and we're not going to vote for that. That's exactly what happened, not just in one state, but across the board, in New York City, in LA, in states even like Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Voters voted for Trump, but they didn't vote for the Republican because they don't like the Republican Party. They think they suck. They don't represent what they support. They don't represent them whatsoever, and they either just didn't vote, or in some circumstances, voted for the Democrat. The Republican Party has a big problem here. These voters, they are the definition of Trump or bust. And right now, the Republican Party, they have yet to understand that. They really believe they voted for Trump because he's a Republican. No, these people voted for Trump not because he's a Republican, but because these people know Trump is not going to screw them over. He represents them. He actually gives a shit what these people think. The Republican Party, meanwhile, they're so incompetent that they actually believe that, oh, this was a Republican wave. No, not really. It was a Trump wave. If it was a Republican wave, Republicans should have 230 in the House, 55 or 56 in the Senate, and that would have been a red wave. But this was a Trump wave, who just helped Republicans keep the Senate, or I should say win back the Senate, and barely keep the House. He did so good that even these incompetent losers, they were able to ride off his coattails and barely win. Now, the majority is settled. We have a majority of at least 219 in the House. But there are some districts outstanding in places like California and in Alaska. But there are some very bizarre situations like in Maine 2nd. There's a bunch of lawsuits being filed. And I know they said Jared Golden won. But Theohold's campaign believes they have a chance. That there's a recount that needs to be done. I don't know. But look at Maine 2nd. We don't know for sure. It looks like Golden won. But there might be a pathway in Maine 2nd. We just got to see what happens. But the remaining House seats are in California. And there's a couple that are surprisingly close, especially the 21st and the 9th. For those that don't know, these are supposed to be super Democrat areas. And in 2020, voted for Biden by over like 15 points or something. It's super Democrat, but right now, Josh Harder is the favorite, but he's only up by 4 points. And the 21st, Jim Costa is up by only 1. He's up by only a single point in the 21st. No one, and I mean no one, could have projected this whatsoever. Everyone thought that the Central Valley was probably going to trend Republican, but people like Jim Costa were going to win. But right now, there's a chance he could actually go down. Now, for those that are wondering, yes, Trump ran it up in the Central Valley. Look at places like Fresno. Fresno County right now is Trump plus 8. And I know there's some votes outstanding, so let's just say it ends up being Trump plus 5. Well, back in 2020, Biden won this county by 7. Yeah, That's a 12 to 15 point shift in Fresno. Look at places like Merce County. Biden won it by just under 11 points. Right now, Trump is up by 6. And again, if let's just say it ends up being Trump plus 3, that's a 14-point shift here. It's across the entire Central Valley. It's a consistent trend. Republicans are doing or I should say Trump is doing way better in the entire region. Despite that, however, you have people like John Duarte winning by only 2. I mean, if Trump is doing this much better in the Central Valley, Duarte should be winning by a lot. For crying out loud, in the primary, which is a jungle primary, he won by like 10 points. But right now, he's up by only 2 points, and he may go down. There's a chance that John Duarte could actually lose. This is pathetic, and this just demonstrates to everyone that, yeah, this was a Trump wave. Trump did better everywhere, even in California, which is Kamala Harris's home state. He's doing better in the Central Valley. He's doing better in places like San Diego, LA, across the board. Yet Republicans are not feeling this Trump wave. Yeah, they're going to retain control of the House and the Senate, but with how well Trump did everywhere, in places like LA, San Diego, the Central Valley, places like Las Vegas, Phoenix, everywhere, Republicans right now should have 230 in the House. And I know some people are going to say, but redistricting, and I understand that. With what happened in Alabama 2nd, Louisiana 6th when it comes to redistricting, I understand that there's like, at the bare minimum, 4 to 5 House seats in the South alone that should be Republican. But they are Democrat because the court said, nah, they gotta be Democrat. So, there are a couple House seats in the South, and of course places like Illinois. This is ridiculous, but there's like 3 in Illinois that should be Republican, a couple in California, a couple in the Northeast. I get that, but even then, with how good Trump did across the board, Republicans should have like 225 to 230 at the bare minimum. Even with this garbage redistricting in the South, it should have been Republicans at 230 at the bare minimum. But right now, they got a small majority. And they actually might see a net loss in the House, which if that happens, I mean, that's just sad. The fact that Trump did this good and they barely won the House should tell you everything. Now, of course, there are a couple House races that will probably be going to a recount, and you got places like Alaska where we don't really know because of ranked choice voting, but it looks like Nick Begich is going to hold on by a little bit. So that is a flip in Alaska against Mary Patola, but the fact that we're barely having a House majority when it should have been like 230 is just really pathetic, and it does demonstrate to everyone that this was a Trump wave. It wasn't a Republican wave. It was just a Trump wave that was so big that it did just enough for the Republican Party to barely win the House, to barely win the Senate. It was just enough. Now, there are some concerns like what's going to happen in 26 when Trump's off the ballot. Are we going to lose like 50 House seats? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you guys did this pathetic with Trump on the ballot, what's going to happen in a midterm? And if you guys don't get your act together, are we going to see like Democrats gain 30 House seats? That's not going to happen, but with how piss poor Republicans did across the board, not just in places like, you know, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, but even in places like New York, which saw a clear trend towards Trump. We'll just see what happens, but this is kind of disappointing. It is a trifecta, though. It is a trifecta technically, but it should have been a much bigger majority than it ended up being. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.